with anything. Hello guys and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're taking a look at K9 Spright. Here's the thing, I really like Spright. That's it. I wanted an excuse to play Spright, and honestly, K9 kind of helps Spright in the ability to I don't know, play the game. K9 is a very strong archetype that has very little in terms of restrictions, so being able to facilitate an additional point of interaction, or a myriad of points of interaction, while also allowing you additional hand traps and other such board breaker style effects, alongside the Spright engine, to me just seemed very nice. That's it. Look, I just wanted to play Spright. So, I'm going to quickly go through the card by card and the explanation. We're starting off with the K9 stuff. It's a pretty simple K9 list. We're playing the 3 Azuna, the 2 Jokel, and the 3 Noir, as well as the 1 Lantern and 1 Lupus. And we're also playing 1 Case and 1 Forced Release. And I'm not going to lie, I genuinely think you might be better off playing 3 Case and 1 Jokel. Jokel's kind of a brick in this deck because you oftentimes get locked into 2s through your Spright combo, and just by seeing it, it's not a terrible normal summon, right? However, oftentimes what you want to do is see it paired with another 5, so you're probably better off just utilizing Case for K9 as opposed to that additional Jokel. That could be the case, but this is what I ended up going with. For the most part, it worked fairly well, right? And that's it for the K9 stuff. It's a pretty simple engine, right? However, we're also playing a bunch of 2s. We're playing Swap Frog and its engine, the 3 Swap Frog and the 1 Ronin Totem. We're playing the Nimbles, 2 Anglers, and 3 Beavers. And then we're playing a bunch of Sprites, the 3 Blue, the 3 Jet, and the 1 Red and Carrot. And then a bunch of targets for Jet, that being the 3 Starter and the 1 Smasher. Now, you may have noticed that we are playing 45. And the reason for this is because we're playing a whole bunch of dead cards that we do not want to draw. The Ronin Totem, the Nimble Anglers, the Lupus, even Lantern is not very good, right? Smasher, Forced Release. All of these are cards we do not want to draw, so we're increasing the number of cards we are seeing, which means that hopefully we still have the ability to see our engine and actually effectively play it. And that's it for the engines. The rest are just hand traps. We're playing the Maxi, as well as 3 Perulia and 2 Fua, and then we're playing 3 Ash Blossom, and then the 2 Triple Tack and a Called By. For the Molcharmies, the reason we're playing 3 Perulia is that you can pair it with Swap Frog, so it's not immediately a dead card, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty much exclusively for that purpose. I don't necessarily think that Fua or Perulia are, like, one is better than the other right now. Perulia hits K9 variants very heavily, whereas Fua hits a lot of other decks as well. So there's that. Most decks will summon into Perulia at least 1 to 2 times, which is nice, whereas some decks kind of get immediately stopped by Fua, so it's kind of a trade-off. You could just play the additional Fua if you wanted as well, so there's that. As for the extra deck, it's pretty simple. Actually, it's pretty complex. Let's go over it. We're playing 2 level 5s. That's it. We're just playing Ripper and Valon. Valon happens to be the best low extra deck count interaction. Nash Knight requires like 4 other cards to be played in order for it to be utilized effectively. So Valon just happens to be the best of the rank 5s that don't require additional engine pieces, because we need most of the extra deck for the Spright stuff. So we're playing the Valon, we're playing the Ripper, and we're playing the Werewolf. And that's it for the K9s. Oh, to be fair, I guess we're also playing Typhon for Lupus. The problem is there's so many extra deck cards that you kind of really need for this archetype and for this deck. You could cut Typhon for Zeus. There were a lot of moments where I wanted AA Zeus to be able to, like, nuke the field. The problem is I don't have space for it. You could cut Typhon. You could cut, like, I don't know, you could cut Pit Knight. Pit Knight saved me so many games. Onibimaru was probably the weakest. Probably cut this one for a Zeus. But it's nice to have additional removal in the form of a rank 2, so that if you do get 2 locked, you still have the ability to go for a rank 2. I don't know. It's hard. There's a bunch of options available to you. Like, I'm not even playing Smoke Mosquito. I also don't have the ability to play Gamma Burst. I could be playing Gamma Burst, and that came up a couple times. So lots of things that you could be playing I'm not 1,000% certain on all of these. But I mean, Onibimaru did come up. Anyway, this is probably cuttable for Zayas. We're also playing Mannequin Cat. Mannequin Cat is one of the greatest rank 2s in the entire game. It's fantastic. If your opponent like hand traps you, you can like, bring back a hand trap and then just get a guy off of it. It's really nice. So lots of really powerful stuff off of Mannequin Cat. This is not a cuttable card. I know so many Spright players don't play this card. This card is heavily underrated. It's fantastic. You probably should be playing it. Moving on, we're also playing the 2 Gigantic, and that's it for the Xyz. As for the rest of the cards, we are playing 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Elf, 1 Early, 1 Sprint, the 1 SP Little Knight, and Saryuya, which is the way to get into the Spright stuff off of the K9 stuff. That being said, it's not like the greatest, it's just... It came up once, right? But for the most part, it was very nice when it does come up. And there's that. Most of the time, you just get hand trapped and you just kind of cry. So you could potentially cut this one as well and just play, I don't know, another K9 target, right? Like maybe a second Ripper or something. But for the most part, I felt like the extra deck was pretty good. That's it. Let's hop into the decks and show you how this deck performed. Alrighty, so here we are going first, and our hand is fairly decent. However, we have like 4 normal summons, which is not great. I am going to start with the Nimble Beaver and not activate its effect. You might be wondering why we did not activate the effect, and the simple truth of the matter is I don't want to play into any real hand traps. I don't want to play into Ghost Ogre or Fua. That's mostly it. I don't want to play in Fua. So, yeah, I just elect not to, and for the most part, it doesn't actually matter too much if you do activate this effect. It just changed the math, technically, but given what I have, I was like, nah, I don't need to. My opponent activates his Shifter here, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, instead, we are just going to go for our Carrot here off of our blue. And then out comes Gigantic. We're going to activate the effect of Gigantic. We're going to detach, and we're going to do summon the red. We're going to summon the Carrot, and then we are going to set 1 and pass the turn. There's not a whole lot that we can do after getting shifted. And then we get Kaiju Tragic. Out comes Holly Sue, revealing Xiaolong. Wow, that's a really good hand. Hopefully we can do something off of this. We don't play a second red, so, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Out comes Ripper. Why? They detach the Holly Sue, sure. Out comes Azuna, sure. I haven't done anything at this point. Out comes Case for K9, yeah, we're immediately negating this. However, I'm not electing to pop it as well, for the simple reason that I don't want to give them the quick play spell. That's just an additional point of interaction that I don't have to give them, so I just won't. But I will negate it at the very least. If you're wondering why I go for the Gigantic, it doesn't really matter. They're going to get rid of the entire field here, as you can see. So, again, it didn't matter too much what I got rid of. I elected to get rid of the Gigantic. Now my opponent goes for the double Azayas here, and I'm like, okay, sure. They go to the end phase. I activate my starter so that I don't immediately die, and go for the blue. Blue effect is going to grab up the Jet, and passes the turn to us. Okay, let's see what we can accomplish here. We do have Noir, which is a pretty solid normal summon. We draw Called By, which is funny. But we're immediately going to go for Jet. Jet is going to grab Smasher, and you might be like, why are we grabbing Smasher here? And the simple reason is I'm scared of this back row. This back row could be something like Imperm, which could really heavily hinder my ability to play the game. It could be Called By, it could be Impulse, it could be something of that nature. Probably not Impulse, to be fair. But I'm kind of worried about that. So, yeah, I end up grabbing the Smasher here so that we can go for a Smasher and then still do the full K9 line. We go for the Noir here to grab at the Jokel, and this is where the Zayas activates. Now, I activate this, and for some reason, I'm stupid and banish the back row. Look, I wasn't really paying attention, to be fair, but it doesn't really matter. We have the Jokel, or the Lantern, anyway. That's also why I summoned the Noir there, and then we can go for the Jokel here, activate the effect, grab the Azuna, and then we are off to the races. We also have the Called By here as well, so not really from this position. So, good game. I could have just banished the Zeus. I don't know why I didn't. Alrighty, so here we are going second, and our hand is, wow, that's a pretty good second hand. They start off with their own Maxi, and I go, okay. Out comes Picari, adding Mr. Picari. So I activate my Maxi in response to theirs, or in response to their activation. They activate their Ash. I activate Zuna here. You might be like, why are we activating this now? Why not wait? It doesn't matter. right? Like, we have to play into the maxi. The reason I do this is so that I can potentially have them, like, draw into their search target. That was one of the reasons. The other reason is because we just need to immediately go. I need to book this pretty much immediately. So we're going to go for the Lupus here. You might be wondering, why are we doing this? Here's the thing. Bakari is a terrible normal summon for the deck. Not terrible. It's a mediocre normal summon for the deck. Because for the Adagnister stuff, they need the field spell. And the field spell specifically states that they need a clear main monster zone. So booking something in the main monster zone is fantastic for that. And for the other Adagnister card, the Witch, I believe, whichever one special summons from hand, requires a Cyber Slink monster, right? And a bunch of stuff like that requires you to have the ability to go into like a Link 1 and kind of clear that main monster zone. So being able to just book it is fantastic, right? And because we see that they are playing the Adagnister stuff and we have the Ash here to negate the other thing, we're doing pretty okay. So there you go. So we're going to book there. They're going to go for the I Meet You. I'm immediately going to Ash this. Just don't want them to get a Cybers on the field. That's really highly detrimental for us. They have a lot of extenders if they have the ability to put a monster on field. If they don't, we might be okay here. So, I'm not feeling it too bad. We draw triple attack, which is actually pretty good. We're going to go for the Noir. We're going to activate the effect. We're going to special summon from the deck the Jokel, which will promptly be booked. What? Book of Eclipse. Okay, sure. I'm just going to flip up the Valon here and attack for a fair amount of... Or not damage, just attack rate. We're going to draw 2, which is not the greatest draws, but I mean, it could be worse. Anyway, out comes Malice in Underground. They're going to go for the White Rabbit here. They're going to activate the effect. They're going to activate the effect to put a card face down, and I'm immediately going to book this for that same reason, right? Being able to cut them off of Cybers in general is really, really important, and if they've already used the White Rabbit, this card cannot banish this. Like, it just can't, right? If they have the ability to, you know, banish it and... tag out, that would be great. This can't do that. So I'm just immediately going to book it here. No Malice for you. And yeah, they don't even get the search. They just scoop it up. Yeah, into the maxi. We just book them. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Alrighty, so here we are going second, and that's a hand. Obviously, we're going to, in the draw phase, activate the Perulia here, see if they can give us a draw. They just start off with the Rahu. Uh-oh. Okay, their hand is, or I should say their sends are pretty good, right? They send Phimena, the Mululu, and the Lucius. So they're going to trigger all of those and just set them. So we'll see what they can do here. They also added back, I believe, the Phimena and the Mululu. They're going to set all 3 of the traps here, so that is something to keep in mind. And out comes the Phimena, out comes the Mululu. Set an additional card and pass the turn. Not looking good for your boy. And a useless card. Fantastic. We're going to start off here with the Swap Frog, activate the effect of the Swap Frog, which will be... Look, I have no idea what this Ash was. This was a terrible Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I get the idea to cut me off of the Ronin Toad and keeping me off that additional 2. I don't hate it, except for the fact that I do hate it because I already have the 2 on field, so I don't know. They also infit immediately on the Jet. I don't understand this. I'm only going to realistically be grabbing a spell, which is going to be contested by the Flame, so I don't understand negating this one here. This seems like they have no idea what I'm doing. So, hey, at the very least, we get an advantage in that regard. Out comes an additional blue as well. We did draw a fairly good hand for going first, so we had a lot of extension, which was pretty cool. But we do grab a red here because I'm more concerned with the Phimena than I am Horn or Sting or Flame. So there's that. We're going to immediately go for the Sprint effect here. They're going to go for Horn. Of course they are. Sure, that's totally fine. We get to dump to, we get to dump to the graveyard one of our Nimble Anglers. So activate that effect, and we're going to summon out 2 Beaters. Then we're going to, for the Swap Frog, since we haven't used our normal, we're going to bounce back that Nimble Beater. Here we go for the Mannequin Cat, and this immediately fetches out the Phimena. That's just not going to resolve. We're just not going to allow that. The reason I go for the... this might be strange. The reason we go for the Mannequin Cat here is pretty simple. They have Ash Blossom and Grave. I'm not yet locked into 2s, right? Yeah, I haven't used anything that's locked me into 2s. So I can actually just bring back the Ash Blossom in attack position, and then that would allow me to special summon out the Carrot from Grave, or from deck, which is an additional spell trap negate. So that would have been really nice. Just, you know, lock down Sting, make sure that it can't do anything. But alas, my opponent does kind of play around, then immediately comes out with 5 mana. Anyway, we're going to go for the Beaver here. We're going to activate its effect. We're going to then go into the Gigantes. We're going to activate the effect of the Gigantic. And my opponent activates Sting here. I don't know why. I could not tell you as to what the purpose of Sting here is. This seems very dumb. But alas, they elect to banish my blue. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, from this position, our goal is to OTK the opponent. Let me show you how I came up with this. They're going to add back a card. That's fine. I can't beat it at this point, so it's not the big deal. We're going to go for the Swap Frog. We're going to dump the Ronin Toad, and Ronin Toad, in effect, is going to bring itself back by banishing the other Swap Frog. We have all 3 Swap Frogs in rotation, so this guy's going to come back a bunch. Out comes the Spright Elf. Ronin Toad, in effect. First, bring back the Ronin Toad, link off in it to the early. Here, we are going to activate the Spright Elf effect, targeting the highest attack point monster, so that the Pit Knight early can decrease the attack and negate the effect of our Thalion. So, now we have a 0 attack point monster we can just walk over. We're also going to go for the Ronin Toad in effect here again, to go into the Pit Knight early, and with the second Gigantic at 32, this is 200 over lethal. That's right, 200 over lethal. Spright takes a long time to actually be able to OTK, but alas, we got there in the end. Whew! Very well done. Good game. Well, not for my fault. Alright, we're back with the deck, and honestly, oh, it feels nice to be able to play Spright again. Man, this deck is super duper fun. Yeah, let's just talk about what I enjoyed about this deck. First and foremost, the K9 and the Spright stuff don't really pair together at all. There's no real synergy here. The only synergy is the fact that you might be able to draw into some of the Spright stuff off of Saryuya and kind of go from there. Sure, it's okay. It works, right? And like the K9 stuff can kind of bait out some of the interaction so that your Spright engine can more effectively set up the board. And to be fair, the Spright end board is extremely resilient and has the ability to consistently be made over and over and over again, which is also very nice. All in all, I don't know, it works. It's not great, but at the very least, it's fun. And I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd say it's up there with like Archmage in terms of what it does, right? It has similar ideas of synergies, right? In that like, oh yeah, just Saryuya draw into it kind of ideas and the like. So there's that. I will say one thing of note about this deck, though, is that it does not lose to draw. It may seem like this deck loses to draw, but due to the nature of the Spright cards in particular, you do have a fairly robust ability to go through the entire Spright line and end on potentially multiple interactions through red and carrot, which is pretty nice. And then on top of that, any of the other link monsters that you would be able to go into, even through the draw. So that's pretty nice, right? That's pretty much it. It's a good deck. There's nothing really in particular that I think this deck loses to, right? Besides maybe the draw spells, right? Maxi, Perulia, Fua. But you do have a fairly consistent way of playing around any and all of those, right? Fua can be played around by special summoning from the hand. Perulia can be played around by special summoning from the deck. There's like a bunch of different ways that you could change the way that works. Perulia, I would say, is probably the weakest or the strongest of those draw spells, right? And then obviously Maxi can't be played around because it's Maxi. But alas, Perulia is kind of the one that I would say is probably the most difficult to play around. That being said, still a very fun deck. I still think it's pretty good. And I'm going to call it quits there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, like, subscribe, I'm sure appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.